my poor mom, I probably aged her 10 years in that fight. She's like, what are you getting yourself
into? Back to the Barbie days.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She found me bleeding over a trash can in the back,
wow.
And she had kind of like swoop me up and take me home. And we had to drive across the Snoqualmie Pass back to Western Washington because it was like Christmas break and she was taking me home. And my grandparents were visiting from out of town. And the next day I woke up and I looked like a cross between a lion and a raccoon.
I'm trying to picture that in my head.
Okay, so the big, fat, wide nose, like I didn't have, and then the raccoon eyes.
Down on the strip where the neon glows, there's a little shop everybody knows, where history's bought and treasures are sold, gold and silver, stories unfold. When the doors close and the lights dim low, Rick and Chum kick back, friends they get to know. Gold and silver by day, but at night, my friend, Pawn After Dark is where the stories and laughter never end.
Today on the podcast, we have Miesha Tate. I don't think you need an introduction, but I'm going to anyways. UFC champion, Bantamweight, pioneer. I want to know, starting out very early. Well, first off, how are you? I'm sorry. I'm just so excited to talk to you.
I mean, we were already getting to know each other already, so I feel like now we have to say it again just so people can be like, are you guys just talking out of the blue?
I should mention that Rick's not here today, and it was actually by my request because I wanted to sit down and really talk to you. And, you might not know this, but everyone watching knows how Rick's ADHD goes. But I'm really excited to talk to you. So how are you today?
I'm doing really good. It's a hot one out today, but other than that, we're just shaking and moving.
It is actually hot, but I feel like this summer's a blessing compared to last summer.
You're so right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last summer was
I was like, how are we already halfway through?
And
we're moving through July. Yeah, exactly. I was like, we're cruising. So this has not been too bad. I won't complain much more.
A couple months ago, I was at my nephew's wedding in Utah, and they were like, "It's so hot out here." I was like, "It's 90 degrees. It's beautiful out right now."
Yeah, we're definitely heat tolerated here.
So I'm sure you get asked all the time, how was UFC? How'd you get into it? All this crazy stuff. I want to touch on that stuff, but maybe in a little bit of a different way. So your rise to fame in the UFC, it was epic, actually. I still remember UFC 196, I think it was. I remember where I was when I was watching it. It was an amazing card. But I want to go back a little bit further because in high school you were a wrestler and your background was in wrestling. Mm-hmm. Was there a moment when you knew I need to do more, I'm going to move on to the cage? Were you a UFC fan?
No.
How was that transition?
No, I think it's so odd and very unexpected that I ever picked up fighting as a career. I don't think there were many telltale signs except maybe when I look back on my childhood. My mom and I used to fight with Barbies. And I remember I developed this game where I was like, we had to fight with the Barbies until one of their heads popped off.
Well, I popped the heads off Barbies, but I'm wondering how you guys did it.
Oh, we just, whack them against each other, like you think of like the Zock and Bop like things until the head pop. Yeah, but we just did that with Barbies and just like whose ever head popped off was how you won, So I guess that's the only real precursor that I could think of why I ended up, or something in my childhood that was like, oh, maybe, she had a affinity for violence. But no, honestly, I don't even have an affinity for violence. I just love competing. And when I went into high school, sports seasons kind of changed from middle school, and I just didn't want to play basketball. And in the winter, it's like, that's all you have and you got to know what you are not good at, right? You need to know and I was like, that is not my sport. I'm not a ball sport person. I don't jump high. I don't, I'm very white at my core.
How long did you play basketball for?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't at all? Okay.
I mean, like in our PE classes, you would try it, and that was enough for me. I was like, I have zero interest in this, and I'm not good at it, and I don't want to play it, and I don't want to do it. And so the only other sport at all during the winter was wrestling, but it wasn't really for women.
Yeah, you wrestled with boys.
Yeah.
Was that one of the reasons that made you such a badass, or were you just born a badass?
Oh, man. I think it must have harvested the badassness. I don't think I would have known maybe that, I had the potential to be a badass if I didn't go out for wrestling, because it was certainly a grind, and it was really difficult. Like, they did not want us there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't even know if want is the right word, but they they weren't welcoming. I think they certainly thought that girls didn't belong
They
in
were
wrestling.
gatekeeping their wrestling culture.
Yeah, for sure. And what's funny now is because like women's wrestling is saving men's wrestling.
Yeah, well, I think women's, UFC is some of the more exciting matches to watch a lot of the time. Obviously, there's some big names in the men, but I love watching the women battle because I feel like the women hold nothing back. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah, there's some great fights and great rivalries, and women's MMA I think is absolutely here to stay. But going back to to wrestling, when it all kind of got my start, is I just went out for it. It wasn't even my idea. It was my best friend at that time. Her name was Sharon, and she was like, "You want to go out for wrestling?" I'm like, "Well, they don't have women's wrestling," and she's like, "Yeah, but I guess they can't tell us we can't wrestle if they don't have a women's team. So we'll just go out for the men's team." And I was like, this sounds like a terrible idea. Let me go ask my mom. And so it was like 14, 15 years old. And, but next day we went out for wrestling. We didn't have wrestling shoes, they smoked us. They smashed us.
No mercy.
No mercy.
Yeah.
I mean, they absolutely, no, they were holding nothing back. And, but I was like, that was great. I loved it.
So did Sharon make the wrestling team with you, or did you make that wrestling team?
Yeah, we were both on the wrestling team. Yeah, I mean, they didn't cut anybody.
Okay.
So you could just like stay on it.
Okay.
Thank goodness, because if they could have cut, we for sure would have been cut. So, but wrestling's one of those places that's always looking for bodies, no matter how good you are or not. Like they need bodies.
So everyone can get their
everyone can get their lickings.
Did you have anyone maybe from the team or a coach that kind of helped you learn how to wrestle and do everything, or was it just, hey, sink or swim, this is the lesson, get it done?
Well, my first year was very much sink or swim. We had a coach named Coach Waite, and he was a hard ass from the get. And he really,
wrestling coaches always are.
Oh my gosh, he was really brutal. But then he ended up departing after my freshman year, and so the rest of the season, we had Coach Mendiola and some assistants, and they were good to me. They ended up becoming like a brotherhood, really. By my senior year, I won a coach's award, which is really quite it's one of my biggest accomplishments if I look back on it. It's up there with my UFC world title, because that moment taught me that I could change the way people thought about me. Went from this girl on the team who nobody wanted there to being recognized for I think my durability and my my never quit never give up attitude. That was awesome.
And so what was training like in the early years? Because I think you're known for having a routine, right? You're pretty solid on that. Was that something that wrestling helped you develop, or have you always been someone who was like focused on making sure you're doing all the steps to get where you want to be?
Wrestling helped me, but I have a work ethic, but not necessarily routine. I'm a little bit all over the place.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what, when I went off to college, I didn't go to wrestle. I just went to college, and I was in the Air Force ROTC for my first year. And I hated it because it was too regimented.
Oh, yeah.
It was too regimented. I was like, I want to work out when I want to work out, not at 6 a.m.
I took ROTC to get out of PE in college or in high school.
Whoa, was that a good idea?
I had fun with it, but I liked wearing the clothes once a week.
Yeah, the clothes weren't too bad actually. I thought the outfit looked cute on me, but but yeah, I didn't love it. And so after that first year, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. But when I discovered MMA, I discovered fighting in college. So you asked earlier, was I a fan of it? How did I kind of get this? And it's just, honestly, it's just the way the cards were lined up. It was like destiny. So I ended up falling into mixed martial arts club sport offered at the college. And I went there also reluctantly, because my dorm mate, Rosalia, was like, hey, you should come and do this. But mind you, like, she's wearing like a karate suit, and she looks uncomfortable as hell. Like, I mean, the karate suits, everyone stands with their arms like wide and their legs. I was like, this just looks terrible. I was like, I only wear my pajamas in bed. No.
So it's pretty much the same thing as like a jiu-jitsu gi, or is it like
bigger? And I don't love wearing a jiu-jitsu gi either. Yeah. But anyways, I didn't even know that at the time. But I was like, she kept bugging me about it. And I was like, all right, fine, I will go. So I went, and then I learned on my first day how to choke people. And the rest was history. I was like, this is great. Well, actually, I still didn't want to fight. I didn't want to punch people or get punched. And that, you know, was like the question, well, do you want to learn the striking? I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, I will never in my life want to do that. So I don't even care to learn it. So I would just go and learn jiu-jitsu, learn choke holds and arm bars and joint locks. And I was like, this is a great addition to, you know, to wrestling. Yeah. Sure. Fun. Then I went to my first live event. You know, I got invited by the guys there. And
is this to watch as a spectator or to
watch?
Okay.
So I was like sitting in the audience and I was blown away. I was like, this is incredible. And then Destiny just, you know, found me again sitting in the audience. And they said, in 3 weeks, we will have an all-female fight card. If anybody wants to come down and sign up. So I just went down and signed up.
And were you fighting more of jiu-jitsu in this bout, or were people striking?
No, this was striking. Yeah, so I had no striking experience. I don't know, you know, I certainly haven't made a lot of smart decisions in my career, but they've worked out.
Well, sometimes the best decisions aren't the smartest ones, right?
That I wholeheartedly believe that.
So did you find a time close to this that, hey, did you go compete in that match?
I did. Yeah, 3 weeks later, I had my first fight.
Full on fist fight. And then after that fight or before that fight, did you decide maybe I need to learn some striking?
Oh, yeah. I went full in on trying to learn the striking, but you don't learn anything in 3 weeks.
No, definitely not.
You know.
So was that first fight a big lesson for you? Did you learn any lessons in fighting during that fight?
Yeah. I fought a gal named Liz Posner. She's from Canada, and her husband had a Muay Thai kickboxing gym. So she was a pure striker. I was a pure wrestler with very limited submission knowledge. And I remember in the first round, I took her down really easy. And I didn't even remember that I could punch on the ground. I mean, this is like, you know, I was still trying to like pin her. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then we get up, the round's over. We go back to our corners, and she puts me in a Muay Thai clinch. You know what that is?
Oh, yeah, kind of.
It's like put your hands behind someone's head and your forearms come over the collarbones. So you're kind of like holding their head in this pocket between your forearms. And I didn't know how to get out of it. So I'm kind of like stuck because her elbows and forearms are keeping my chest from moving forward. And, you know, this is back when there were no rules or regulations for... Definitely not for amateurs. We were fighting on a reservation for $0. And so she begins kneeing my face. And one of them smashes my nose. Completely obliterates my nose. And I am then diving at her ankles for a takedown at this point because I didn't know how to get through it or around it. And she gets on my back and she's hitting me. And one of them hits me in the ear and kind of pisses me off. And I remember seeing blood stream from my nose down onto the ground. So I'm on all fours, my knees and my elbows. And I'm watching this pool of blood get bigger. And I'm like, I got to do something about this. I got to do something about it. And so I did kind of like a hula hooping motion. You know, she's on my back and I kind of pulled her down beneath me, in front of me. And then I just stood up up and started raining down punches. And there's blood all over us. And that is where that round ended. And I go back to my corner, and my cornermen were like ghosts. They did not know what to think. I mean, mind you, this was in the end of 2005. Yeah. So this was not a thing. They were not at all accustomed to seeing women bloody and broken and, you know, like, what should I do? Yeah. What do I do? And so they threw in the towel, which sucked for me.
They had a little culture shock.
They did. Yeah, they did. They certainly did. But, you know, I don't blame them. You know, I wasn't getting paid for it. I wish that I could have gone out in the third round and had that understanding and the fire and desire that I had right at that moment of, you know, when the fighter was born. And I still look back at that point in my career and I'm like, that's when I knew. That's when the fighter was born, was like when I was down, broken, bloody.
And you wanted to still keep going.
And I wanted to just kick her ass, and I wanted to keep going. And
well, you know, I think maybe it's good that the coaches threw the towel in because, you know, maybe that really just burned the desire, like, to go back, put in some more work and get better at striking.
I think you're right. I think maybe I never would have burned as bright if I hadn't started in such a way, you know, so much adversity in my first fight. And I mean, my poor mom, I probably aged her 10 years in that fight. She's like, what are you getting yourself into?
She wanted to go back to the Barbie days.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She found me bleeding over a trash can in the back, you know, and she had kind of like swoop me up and take me home. And we had to drive across the Snoqualmie Pass back to Western Washington because it was like Christmas break, and she was taking me home. And my grandparents were visiting from out of town. And the next day I woke up and I looked like a cross between a lion and a raccoon.
I'm trying to picture that in my head.
Okay, so the big, fat, wide nose, like I didn't have, and then the raccoon eyes. So that's what I look like. And my grandparents were.
And then that's in your
quite
mind. You're like,
shocked.
this is for me.
Yeah. Well, that time I kind of had to, swallow my pride a little bit and just be like, I had to hear all the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you letting her do that? And well, she learned her lesson and she's never going to do that again. And in the back of my mind, I was just kind of thinking, I just have to prepare better.
Yeah.
I know I can do better. So I was
Yeah.
like, the only stupid thing here was just doing it on 3 weeks.
On 3 weeks notice.
Yeah. I was like, I can get better at this. So I was like, I have to. And I really thought that maybe I would only fight one more time. I mean, I didn't see like a big future in this for me, but it was like, but I have to try again with better preparation. So at least I know and I can show myself that I could get better at it. But I mean, the next fight I won, and then the next 6 fights I won, and it was just like on a, total different
on a
trajectory. And
rampage.
then I was hooked.
Yeah. So what was it like in the early years of UFC? Do you have any defining moments when you actually moved to the UFC? Now you're in the Octagon and you're working your way up that ladder to potentially UFC 196, where you beat Holly Holmes with the rear naked choke.
Yeah, I would say a big defining moment for me was in that first title fight in Strikeforce still, actually. Okay. And it was in 2012. And I was the champion and I fought Ronda. And it was the first real big rivalry in women's MMA. Mm-hmm. And Scott Coker had been building this idea of women fighting. He put on the first ever main event with Gina Carano and Chris Cyborg. I think that was in 2008. And he was just doing things that for women that weren't being done anywhere else, including the UFC. And I fought her, and it was a fiery fight. I mean, we were feisty. We didn't like each other, but I lost. I got put in an arm bar and I refused to tap. And so my arm got bent like 90 degrees backwards and, it was dislocated and everything. But Dana was watching that fight.
Like he always is, right?
Like, yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't know if he watched women's MMA at the time. I know that when he had been ever asked about women coming to the UFC, he was like, never. It will never, ever happen. Yeah. And he, his reasoning was that he thought there weren't enough women and that it would be too many mismatches. He had seen one women's MMA match and kind of based all of women's MMA off of that. And it was very mismatched. Yeah. And he's like, I don't want that as a product.
I'm sure it probably was a little mismatched in the early years.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure men's MMA was too.
Oh, it still is today sometimes.
Right. So it still is today sometimes. So, we, Dana was watching that, and that was the fight that changed his mind. And I remember I was I wasn't making much money fighting. I mean, I think it was like $10,000 for like a title fight or something. It's not money that you could really like go and buy a home with or like, plan your future with. And I remember I was just devastated after I lost, and my arm's in a sling. And I'm just, I'm physically broken. I'm mentally broken. I'm emotionally broken. I'm just really at a low point. And my phone rings and it's Dana. And by the way, I was in Florida visiting my grandparents, the same ones that were very anti me fighting.
And you knew Dana had your number? He had got it, or did he?
Yeah, I had been contacted somehow, letting me know that Dana wanted to contact me. I was like, what? So he gave me a number, and sure enough, a number calls, and it's Dana. And I'm sitting at my grandparents' house, who again had a change of heart and perspective. My grandpa was a bit chauvinistic, and he just didn't think women should do that. And then he watched that fight, and he was like, on board, right? So it was like cool to see how these men who were very anti-women fighting, including in my own family, from wrestling to my dad to my grandpa to all these people, and just by continuing to do what I do, it's like changing their mind about it. So I'm sitting there. I'm at my grandparents' house in Sarasota, Florida. And the phone rings and it's Dana, and I'm nervous. Like, I don't know what to say, anything. And he's like, hey, Miesha, it's Dana. And long story short, I was like, are you sitting down? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, I'm going to give you a $50,000 bonus. And I was like, that's more money than I had ever seen in my life. And we're going to bring women into the UFC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was just that was like the moment when I was like, okay, we're safe. We have arrived. We've made it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think it was a great decision because, uh, like I said, the women matches are just so good. And even, in UFC altogether, like from way back when to now, so much evolution has gone on. I feel like some of these kids coming in at 18, 19, 20, like they know more about grappling and fighting that a lot of these, start like early UFCs knew
Yeah.
when they were in the ring at the time. The training, the, process is so much different now.
It's so different. It's not so much of the blind leading the blind anymore.
Yeah.
And I love that I have this unique perspective on that transition because I really was there in the earlier days, but not too early because they're like my coach Robert Follis. He's since passed away, but him and Matt Lindland and Randy Couture, all these Pacific Northwest guys, they would train like what I would consider very barbaric. They would just show up and they would fight each other every day. And sometimes it'd be in a garage on a cement floor. And other days it might be in a room with like some pads, some mats. And they didn't really understand the sport of it yet, like how to really train like professionals. They were just going at each other thinking like, well, let's just beat the crap out of each other. And then, that's how we train to fight. And then, that transition and being one of the first women to be fighting, myself and go through the hungry years where, before even Strikeforce really, I had started fighting and I started on, with Bowdog Hook and Shoot and I did a tournament. So fought more than one fight in a night and it was aired on, HD Net. And then went into Strikeforce, and then Strikeforce was getting dissolved because the UFC was buying it. And we didn't know if the women were going to come over.
Okay.
We didn't know that. So, when I went out and fought Ronda, it was kind of with that note of like, let's show them what we're worth. This is like kind of maybe a make or break situation. Yeah. Like maybe women's MMA is not going to be really here tomorrow, or we're going to be with the big dogs.
That might have been the match that made it. So you mentioned your late coach, Robert Follis. Do you think there's anything he trained with you or taught you that you took into the Big Brother house that helped you win that? I'm a Big Brother fan. So I was watching that. I was rooting for you. Did any lessons he teach you help you over there in that situation?
Everything. Robert was a mindset man. And, he had all these analogies and quotes, and he was somebody who would walk into a room and he has a very big, boisterous laugh, and he could really change the energy of a room for the better. And, his mindset in everything has been something that's, transferred to all the things that I do. And I have a podcast. It's called Built for Growth, and it's inspired by Robert. He always would say that, that change is inevitable. Life is going to change you. It's going to change me. It's going to change all of us, but growth is not.
Yeah.
And
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, that's so true. And that's why I called the podcast Built for Growth, because I'm not just built to change. Like I want to be, like proponent of what I want out of life. I want to decide in every moment, what the hell do I want in this moment? And what do I want in the next? And I don't want to just let life passively go by, because then you feel like things happen to you. Yeah. I don't feel like things happen to me. I was like, no, this is life. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's not. But I get to say, like, I'm my own boss.
I like that. Change is inevitable, but growth is not.
Yep.
I think that fits kind of how I live, because I always tell people, like, if you're not changing year by year, you're not really growing into the person that you're trying to get to the end of life. So I think without even knowing, I've lived by that same model right there.
Yeah,
so
it's so
cool.
Good.
So I'm going to take that with me.
Yeah, take that one. Write that one down. It's a good one. And so when I went into the Big Brother house, I knew he would just be so proud of me for all the things that I, was doing. But, Celebrity Big Brother 3, that was I hear you want to go on the show,
I do want to go on it. My mom would be so hyped. I actually started watching Big Brother because my mom came down from Utah to visit me one day, and I was like, this show's crazy. I'm not into it. But I watched it with every day. And then when she left, I kept watching it, and I was like, it gave me something to talk to my mom about every couple of days. We would be texting her on the phone, and we would just talk about it. So I just kept watching it, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was great. Did you know right away when you met, I think, Todrick Hall?
I didn't know him.
Did you know that was going to be your guy though?
No. Well,
Like,
I liked him right away.
mm-hmm.
I liked him right away. So I was like, I like this guy. I think I can trust him. You know, but you're playing a game that's like meant to be deceptive in all ways. But I went into this with kind of a blind trust, and it worked out. I wouldn't say it will work out in every situation, but I adore him, and he, you know, I wouldn't have won the show if it wasn't for him.
Oh yeah.
Because he was a super fan. He knew all of it.
He was good with people too.
So good. Oh yeah, he was really good with people. And although he ended up getting such a bad rap off of that show, and you know, it sucked because I just feel like he really is a good, genuine person. Yeah. But you know, him and Shayna just had their beef, and she got out of the house, and I think went quickly to work on ruining his reputation while he couldn't really defend himself. Yeah,
that's not good. I mean, Big Brother's a game at the end of the day. It's a little deceptive, but it's no more deceptive than a game of Monopoly, right?
Right.
You're trying to win.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't think we should really take it all that personal, but it being locked in a house for weeks on end with no communication to the outside world is a trip, and it really does speed up relationships.
Yeah.
You know, where just like things are on fast forward because you do nothing but sit and like talk to each other. There's nothing to read, nothing to watch,
not even a
no
pencil.
Devices. No, there's not even no writing utensils in the entire house.
Yeah.
You barely know what time it is because the only clock in the house is on a tiny microwave, and you just know you're being recorded like little mice in a cage the entire time. So, you know, it's it is interesting. You get to know each other. You get to know people really quickly.
Well, you were pretty much a comp beast. I think you won 4 HOH competitions.
Something like that, 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Did
in
you
a
ever
short season, you know, which was like the season.
Like 3 or 4 weeks, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it was 4 weeks.
Yeah. So did you ever find yourself like, I bet it was hard for you to say like, I can't win this one. Did you ever not win one on purpose, or were you just, I got to win every one that I can?
Okay. Well, truth be told, there was one that I didn't win on purpose, so Todrick could win.
Oh yeah, well you're giving it to your guy right there, like that's your right hand man.
Yeah, it was like a Valentine's Day one, I think, and we were like running like letters to match, and I just ran like a lot slower because I was like, at first I was like kind of working, and I was like, okay, he's gonna get this, like he's got it. And I was like, yeah, gonna let him like run away with it.
Let him get some blood on his hands.
Yes. Well, because I remember when we were doing this, we had to change into like, what was it? Like we had a ski suit, and we had to like sit on a ski slope, and we had to like change our outfit as quickly as possible, and like however quickly you did it, and then run and get into a hot tub. So it was like really. So it was something that Todrick thought he was going to do great at because that's what he does all the time. He's a musician, and he goes out and, wardrobe quick changes. He's like, I got this. And I still beat him at that. And he's like, dang it, Miesha. He's like, I'm never going to win one of these things. Like I told my mom I would win one, and you got to let like, so I remember one.
I still remember him in the fashion show one with like the suit. He was killing it.
Yeah.
Doing his little walk. I think he was loving that.
Yeah. So just one competition that I was like, wanted to make sure that he won it, and he did.
Well, maybe if I do ever get accepted, if they do another Celebrity Big Brother, I'll get in touch with you for some pointers.
Yeah, I'll say prepare for some suffering. It's not all fun and games. You think it is. It's crazy. Sometimes they interview you at like 3 a.m. too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like
get you sleep deprived.
They must. I don't know. Well, sometimes it's deadlines that they really need a piece to, because they make those episodes so quickly that they turn around so fast, and so they have to choose how to build the storyline on each episode. And so sometimes they need a piece to support something, and then they don't know that until it's like midnight or something,
It's probably I don't know if you guys would think about this or if you thought about it. There's crazy people like Chumlee watching the 24-hour feed the whole time they're up. I was on the road a lot for that season, traveling and stuff. So I would just be in my hotel room watching the live feeds.
I've heard. What kinds of things do you see? Like, what are the interesting things you see on the live feeds?
Well, it's more about what you don't see, right? You'll see a lot of good conversations where people are applauding, but sometimes you could tell when they switch the camera, you're like, ugh, you're trying to find the main feed, and then like right when the conversation was about to get juicy, sometimes they switch, and I always wonder, do they do that on purpose to kind of leave the viewers like a little not to know what's going to happen on the main show? Yeah,
they must. That I don't know.
That's what you're looking for, though. The juicy conversations that, Miesha and Todrick are tight. Is anyone going to try to split them apart secretly and work on them? That's what you're looking for.
That's probably, they probably have some strategy behind that, I'm sure. What's funny is Lamar Odom. So I won the first HOA. So I went upstairs and I was in the HOA room. But the downside of that is that in that first entrance of the house, like you don't get a vibe or a pulse on what's going on downstairs. And I'm such a, I didn't know how to play the game anyways. I don't know if you knew this, but I was a late replacement.
Well, that's why I thought Todrick was such a good.
He was so great. I was a late. Yeah. So I had like 3 weeks of notice. So I don't know who was supposed to be on it, but it was like during COVID and stuff. So it was a difficult time. And
I mean, I thought that was smart that you were working with Todrick because you were fresh to the game. But Todrick was just like, he knew how to play that game. He was built to play that game.
Yes. But I didn't know that. And he was, determined that he was not going to tell anyone the entire season. He had like promised himself.
We
that
knew
he
it as fans watching.
Yeah. But nobody knew. So I didn't know. And he was like, he would try to tell me stuff. And I was like, no, I don't know. I was like, how would you know? Like, how do you think that? Because I thought he was like me, like didn't know how to play the game. And then eventually he was like, okay, Miesha, I'm going to tell you this. It's like, I think I trust you. I'm a super fan and I know all this. And I'm doing, and as I have the beat downstairs. Anyways, I was going back to Lamar Odom. So before the live feed, I guess Lamar Odom would just like walk around buck ass naked in the house, like just buck ass naked.
That sounds like something Lamar would do.
Yeah.
He's trying to get kicked off.
Yeah, but he must have. And we would all be like, Lamar, I was like, the live, I didn't see, thank goodness, because I said I was upstairs. Yeah. But I think a few of the ladies were like, whoa.
Well, maybe that's why the live feed was down a little bit extra.
That could be, because I know that in the beginning we were like, the live feed is starting tomorrow. Like, they're going to see you. You can't walk around. You cannot do that. You can't walk around naked. And he was like, I don't know.
That's pretty funny. Well, I think that's a little piece of information I didn't know. So that was a nice little juicy tip. If I'm on Big Brother, though, I'll be walking around fully clothed. I promise everyone. So
perfect. I think your roommates will appreciate that.
Yeah, just I guess one last little question on Big Brother. I know it's just a small part of your career, but I know you like worked out a lot was that kind of to keep your mind focused? Were you just trying to stay in shape, or was that like a crutch you had in the house?
Well, I had a fight that was coming up. So I was actually trying to train for a fight while being in the Big Brother house, which was a really difficult thing to do.
There was just an epic clip. I don't know if you ever watched your season back, but you're just like pouncing the little dummy. You're doing your thing, and they're like, oh, yeah. I forget who was in there, but, in their interview, like, yeah, I'm not going to mess with Miesha after that. It was pretty funny.
That's funny. Yeah. I watched a few episodes, and then I started to feel, like, sick about it. And I was just like, okay, never mind. Because you can remember, like, when we got off the show, it was just like Todrick was just, like, being basically canceled.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, what? Like, snap back to reality. That, and I missed the hell out of my kids. My kids were little. So my son was, like, 1 something, and my daughter was like, 3, like 1 and 3-ish.
Yeah, that would be tough, having very young children and being away for about a month.
So I was like, oh man. I remember the first thing I did when I got off of the show, my mom was in the hotel room with my kids, and I, ran up there to get him, and I opened the door, and she's like mid diaper change on my son. It was like the first thing I did was like change a shitty diaper. I was like, back to mom life. Here we go.
I'm excited for that. So I see, I asked you to bring something in. I see a Rolex box right here. Is there a Rolex in there? You want to tell me a little bit about what you have?
Yeah, I would love to. So this Rolex here was given to me by Lorenzo Fertitta as a gift. And it's been so special to me, and I've kind of wondered the value. I mean, I know that Rolexes are, they're valuable pieces or whatnot, but you have never worn it.
Let's check it out here.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right?
Well, Rolex is timeless for sure. Let me check it out here. So it looks like so here you got the date just, and 18 karat gold is what they make it out of. So you have a aftermarket bezel. It wouldn't be a brand new bezel. And I did have the staff check the serial number before you brought it in, because you need to take the serial off. You need to take the band off and check the serial number right there to see what date it is. So I was told that this is a 1987 Rolex, and it makes sense that. So Rolexes don't really lose value, right? And this one doesn't fit. This is brand new. You could tell no one's ever worn this. Have you ever worn it at least once?
Okay. I've never worn it.
So it makes sense that they would buy an 87 Rolex, because Rolex is, I think right now it's about a 4-year waiting list to even get a Rolex. It doesn't matter who you are. Because, you know, Rolex is just a timeless watch. Beautiful, you know, they never go out of fashion and they always hold their value. It's worth around $13,000. If it had a factory bezel on it, it would probably be worth a little bit more. But it's probably what it came with, just an all gold bezel around it. And they probably want to spice it up a little bit for cupcake and put some diamonds on it for you.
Yeah, I like it.
So does this hold like a special place like in your collection for you? Or because I'm sure my boss would offer you $10,000 for it.
You know what? It's not like a family heirloom or anything like that, so it doesn't have that kind of value to me, but it is. Let's take another gander at this. Beautiful. But it is a beautiful watch. I've had this for, let's see, maybe 10 years. I probably had this a decade.
So was this just a random gift, or was this like, hey, you killed it for us this year, or this fight, you're pulling in viewership, we just want to thank you?
Actually, I taught his daughter jujitsu a little bit.
Okay.
And he just gave me this.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think, that's really what transpired. His daughter's really a sweetheart, and they gave me that Rolex, and I was like, wow, okay, thank you. That's great.
Have you ever done any other coaching, like seriously, or do you just kind of coach some friends?
Yeah, just here and there. I dabble a little bit. I think being a coach is a really tough job.
Oh, yeah.
I like teaching. I don't know if I'm ready to coach. I feel like I have to coach my kids all day long. That's
true.
exhausting. You know what I mean? Like parenting is definitely a form of coaching, right?
Well, I feel like maybe you kind of coach now because you have a couple podcasts. Let's talk about those a little bit.
Yeah.
What led you to get into podcasting and how much you enjoy doing it, if you enjoy doing it?
Oh, I love it. It's my passion project. For me, it's just about that growth mindset and about growing through life. You know, I want people to be able to have the resources for free that they wouldn't maybe have if there weren't things like podcasts where people just sit down and have genuine conversations. And the thing I love about podcasts, is where I get a lot of information from, is that I just feel like it's a nice break from like the news.
Mm-hmm. The news can be so gloom.
So gloom. It's just like, it's terrible. And then I feel like it's like being force fed. Mm-hmm. Like you're watching. It's
all curated to like a point of view, right?
Exactly.
That's why I like podcasts too, because especially when two people sit down and talk together, you're just getting kind of like an unfiltered view of what they think on a subject that's at hand.
Exactly. And so for me, that's just an opportunity to sit down with great experts and talk about all kinds of things. I recently had Dr. John Kradowski on, who has summited Mount Everest multiple times.
Oh, wow.
And he has TED Talks, and he's just an amazing speaker, but he talks about the Everest Ready mindset. And I love that. And his Everest Ready mindset is about, if you dropped him on Everest today, like right now, he's like, I could summit it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's amazing. I don't know very many people that could say that, but it's like, if you dropped me in a fight right now, like, could I do it? Like, like, what is it in your life that's like, you need to make sure that you're kind of like, your lifestyle supports your excellence in that area. And then, so he talks a lot about that in his mindset. And then I have other ones that's like kind of on nutrition. So I had Candy and Tom Frazier, which were fun. He's a type 1 diabetic. I was like, we could all learn a lot from type 1 diabetics, it turns out, because they have to bolster their own insulin. And so they know how much insulin is required to like, we don't really know that. If you're not diabetic, you don't necessarily know how much insulin is required for food. So I guess there's a precursor to that, and understanding the nutrition aspect of it. So they were telling me that if he eats like a big ribeye, like a fatty steak, which you would not think is insulin spiking, right? Yeah. Insulin spiking foods is like, carbohydrates and sugars and cake and cookies, but protein can break down to sugar. And so, but the fat like delays it. And so for whatever reason, his blood sugar goes and stays high, and the amount of insulin that's required because of the fat is like, it's like high. It's a lot. I was like, I never knew that. It kind of reshaped my thought about, how much fat I consume especially with like high carbohydrate meals, because it basically keeps your blood sugar, kind of delays that digestion of it. So it kind of keeps the insulin higher for longer, which was like, oh, that was really interesting.
I just totally reevaluated my diet situation, because I was on like a major protein kick for over a year. And then I kind of fell off this last year and just kind of did normal little dinners and stuff. But I think I have gout in my ankle. And so I've been searching all these foods. So basically, I'm on like a Mediterranean style diet right now, but I try to keep the carbs low.
Yeah.
I'm basically eating white rice, pasture, organic eggs, low fat yogurt, avocado, and it's really a little bit of tofu here and there. It's really like about it.
What meat did you say?
I would
Like,
mostly eat
fish?
ribeye, but I would eat a little bit of chicken and fish.
Right now?
No,
Or
this is
before?
like a year ago. I pretty much eat. I'll have a little bit of meat once in a while right now, but pretty much some weeks I go without eating any meat right now, just because it's so hard.
So Candy, speaking frankly, she would call you an idiot. 'Cause that's how she is.
Well, no, that's good to hear.
But that's how she is.
Yeah.
But she'd be like, eat meat.
Yeah.
And I don't. Well, how was your experience when you ate meat?
I felt better than I ever did in my entire life. I felt
You
so
don't need
good.
white rice.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you out running sprints?
Am I what?
Are you out running sprints?
No, I can't even. I can barely walk. My
Okay,
ankles.
so you don't need white rice.
Okay.
Because it's just like it's basically just it's like quick form of glucose,
Okay.
like basically just sugar, and you don't need that unless you're doing things that are anaerobic, means like you feel like you can't breathe.
Yeah.
If you feel like you can't breathe because you're doing some type of workout that's causing you to be under that much, then you might need that or benefit from that kind of carbs. But if you're like a normal person or you go for walks, just like you just kind of maybe lift weights a little bit here and there, you should really prioritize just eating meat.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the best. I even, years and years, 20 years ago, I was a vegan for like a year, and I thought my skin looked great, but my body wasn't functioning properly, right? When I went on a strict, like, carnivore diet, pretty much red meat the whole time and a little chicken, a little fish, I never felt better. I never slept better. My energy levels were great. But from what I read, it said I had to stay off of high purine foods. So maybe I'll have to
high what? Protein?
Purine foods or
What's
purine? I don't know. I guess it's some kind of like chemical that releases in and
what kind of
helps
foods
inflammation.
have that?
They say steak, chicken, and fish. They say meat's basically high protein foods. So I was trying to go low on them until it slows down and then slowly.
Okay, well, maybe like, and I'm no doctor, but if you're curious about experimenting, maybe just try do 1 week of nothing but meat and keep notes and see how if it changes, because I don't buy a lot of the propaganda that's out there about that.
No, I think meat's the best thing you could eat.
Well, it's what I understand, it's the most bioavailable nutrition. It prioritizes proteins naturally, which usually most of us don't get enough of. And it just seems like it's the best thing for you. And I don't know. I mean, it's what our brains didn't really start to get grown and developed until we started eating meat. I did a podcast with Brian Sanders with Food Lies. That was a good one. We're just really uncovering all the nonsense. When they tell you not to eat meat, like a lot of those documentaries on Netflix recently, like, what was it? Like, the vegan ones or like, did you watch the one about the twins when they did one did the vegan diet and
I didn't
the other one
watch
did the meat?
But I saw.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was all funded by like anti-meat, vegan. So you got to see who's doing it. And I was genuinely curious about that with an open mind.
Another reason why podcasts are great, right?
Yeah,
because you never know what big corporation is funding something or what corporation wants a result from this experience.
Exactly. So I would say give meat a try. And
maybe you can write some names down for me, and I can have a couple doctors come in and a couple food nutritionists, and that would be some good conversations for me to have with people.
I would love to do
that. Because I'm
that.
very interested. I went very deep into health. I even got so into it to not only how much water should you drink a day, when should you start and when should you stop, and all that.
Yeah, no, it's good. I was actually really impressed with what you're into grounding. You were telling me before we started this podcast, about electrolytes. You were like, I drink a lot of water.
Yeah, I just started taking creatine.
Ooh, that's a good one.
About 2 weeks ago, and I've known my brain function has just.
And you know what? Where creatine is naturally really
neat. I know.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just one of those things. I think that they want you to think not, but I don't know. Maybe I get a little woo woo here. So just be prepared. But or conspiracy theorists. But I think a lot of conspiracies end up being right.
That is true. Yeah, they're only conspiracies until they're not.
Right. But unless you 3D print meat, you can't patent it like you can fruits and vegetables and stuff. And so I just feel like there's less control. Like when a small farmer has a ranch and you go and buy a cow and it feeds a family of 4 for a year. Even people who want to be vegan and vegetarian, which I do empathize with that when you care about the animals. Yeah. I get it. Actually, for about a year, I was low meat. I did I really wanted to believe. I wanted to believe it so bad that we didn't need to eat meat, that we could get, be vegetarian and be just as healthy.
Yeah.
And so like I wanted to believe that because I didn't want to have to kill the animals either.
Yeah.
When I was living in Singapore, so there was like not even an ethic way to really source meat over there. But it's just not, unfortunately it's not true. So I'm like, well, what's the best way that I can kill an animal then? Well, I can go like to Lazy J Meats. They're up in Utah, Provo.
Yeah.
And I went and visited their ranch and like almost basically, pet their cattle, like fed them and saw how they.
I get my ethical meats too. So
Yeah.
my sister actually lives about 2 hours northeast of Provo.
Okay.
And one of my nieces was on a softball team. She still plays, but a different team. Anyways, they have a friend up there who raises just a small, maybe 12 to 15 Wagyu cows a year. And so me and my sister will split a half a cow.
Yeah.
I'll take half a cow, she'll take half a cow, and then that just gets cut up and in the freezer.
Yep.
And then, my sister's husband hunts, my nephew's wife's dad hunts, so they load me up with elk and deer meat.
Yeah.
And so I do eat ethically sourced meat, and I do feel
makes a difference.
It feels a lot better,
Yeah.
than when you get this heavily
Well, it's
processed
like
meat.
you're supporting something that's like good, right?
Yeah. And all my meat's coming. It's not a McDonald's hamburger. No disrespect to McDonald's hamburgers. If I do want to cheat, I love a McDonald's hamburger fresh out of the drive-thru.
Mine's Taco Bell. If I'm going to cheat, it's Taco Bell.
Taco Bell's not a bad one either, but when I do the tacos, I'm driving through Barstow. That's like whenever I go with my one friend, we go. He has to stop at the original Del Taco because they make everything different.
Oh.
So if I'm going to do a taco cheat,
I didn't know about that.
I go to the original Del Taco.
I'll remember that when I drive through.
That's where Del Taco's from. So I think they have
Okay.
restaurant 1, 2, and 3 right out there.
I didn't know that.
So what else is going on with your life? Is there anything you want to talk about or promote before we wrap it up today?
Well, I'd love people to just know that I put a newsletter out about every other week. I won't overflood you, and I write them myself, and I don't use AI. So you get a genuine, thought from me, once every 2 weeks. And usually it's about, mentality. And I have a certification in change psychology.
Okay.
So I like talking about behavior change. And it's just something that is
I'm
near.
going to read that because I love behavioral change. I don't read a lot, but I listen to a lot of books, and 90% of them are psychology books on why people are the way they are.
Yeah.
The other 10% are fiction books on why the world's going to end, and this is how we get through it. So if I wanted to look at that newsletter weekly, how would I go about that?
You just go to mieshatate.com and
Okay.
you just subscribe for the newsletter there. And then, listen to the podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's going to be there, Spotify, Apple,
And you have
YouTube.
2 of them. Let's name them so everyone
Oh,
can
no,
find
just
them.
Built for Growth.
Oh, you just have Built for Growth?
Built for
Okay.
Growth. That's the one.
And is that every Monday?
It's every Thursday.
Every Thursday? All
Yeah.
right. I'm losing it here.
When do yours come out?
Every Thursday, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're alike on that.
Yeah, so Thursday's a good day for podcast, I guess, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I always wonder what the best day is, but I think Thursday is a damn good day. So
I think
picked
when
it.
you drop a podcast, I think it's the best day, right? Because
Yep.
your fans, the people who listen to the podcast, they know it's coming out. So they're going to probably watch it on I imagine Thursday's a good day because it comes out. People are getting ready for the weekend. They're probably listening into it for a couple of days on their way to work and maybe finish it up or listen
Yeah.
to the whole thing on a Saturday.
That's what I kind of feel like too. I always listen to podcasts when I'm driving.
All right. Well, anything else today?
No, I mean, I think that's really it. Thank you so much for letting me know about the watch. I've been curious about that, and it's just something that I've kind of had in a safe for a really long time, and I've never worn it. I've thought about wearing it multiple times. Would you think it would devalue it a lot if I
No,
wore
if
it?
you wear it, look, if you
Take
wear
good
it
care of it.
every day, the band
Right.
loosens up. If you wear it occasionally, it doesn't. But I will recommend to you to buy yourself a self-winding watch box,
Okay.
either one that comes with batteries or one that you plug in. And you want to keep your Rolex on a self-winding box because that'll just, if you're going to wear it a lot and it starts because the Rolex keeps running from movement, that could put wear and tear on the movement. It's better
Okay.
to keep it on a self-winding watch case or a little watch stand, and you can get one that closes up and even one that locks, and it'll keep it always running. So you take it out and it's set to the correct time every time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do have one last question for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you in the hot seat. We have Mount Rushmore for women UFC fighters. In my opinion, you're on there, so you're not allowed to argue that point. Who's the other 3 going on there with you that either helped pave the way, in the beginning, or someone, and maybe we'll use one fighter currently in the last, 5 years or so that's, helping moving into the next generation of women fighters?
Yeah. Of course, Mount Rushmores are always very subjective because, you know, it can be, you know, so many different things that you take into consideration, you know, were they the best, like how many championships they have, like, or was it influence, or what is it about somebody that would put them on the Mount Rushmore? So I think for sure we have to do Valentina Shevchenko.
Okay.
You know, she is just such a savage, and so, I mean, she's so good. I watch her and she's so calculated and perfect. And I really like her messaging too. You know, I love that she's like shooting, you know, she's out there just doing her thing. She's unapologetically herself, but she's like a good human.
Yeah, it's what we love about people.
Yeah, she's really, really cool. I also think that Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Love her. She's amazing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, with those fights with Wei Li. Oh my God, so good. You remember that one where she got the huge hematoma on her head?
Yeah.
That fight was just epic.
Like I said, the women, I feel like they just go for it. I feel like there's so much more entertaining than, you know, most of the men fights. There's always some good men fights, but for some reason, I feel like these women in these fights, they just go at it. It's like war.
Yeah.
And you do get that out of the men's fights sometimes, but sometimes the men just don't feel like they're just have that desire to just go out and win in a amazing fashion.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think so too. And I think for a long time the women were fighting with a chip on our shoulders. You know, like we had to prove our worth and like that we deserve to be here. And I would say next would be Amanda.
Amanda, another pioneer. Yeah.
Amanda Nunes. You know, she was
unstoppable for a long time.
Oh, so incredible. Like,
I think she might come back now.
Yeah,
right?
she's supposed to be coming back. So I'm really excited to see her and Kayla Harrison and see how that goes down. You know, two experts in different areas. You know, obviously we have the judoka, and then, you know, somebody who just has the wingspan of a falcon and hits like a Mack truck. You know, Amanda is just, she's incredible. You know, I had an opportunity to fight her, and, you know, she hits hard, and she's really talented. She's really just, you know, so it's great that we're getting her back in the sport.
Well, I think those are three amazing names to add with yours. I think all four of you have gave women fighters someone to look up to and to aspire to be as great as in their journey to become a champion of the UFC, which is kind of like the ultimate prize in fighting. I feel like that's the pinnacle of what you can do, is work your way up to get a title fight. Even if you don't win it, I mean, just to get up there in that title fight is a long, hard journey.
Yeah, it was a long, hard journey for sure. And I'm grateful that I was ever able to get up there and do that and have that belt, you know, strapped around my waist, and, you know, then retire for a while and have some babies and come back and still, you know, break inside that top 10. It was pretty, it's been a great journey, and MMA has done a lot for me. Wrestling's done a lot for me. It taught me just how tough I am. And so I'm always grateful. Now I know I can do hard shit. That's the great part about doing sports, is it really teaches you that you're capable of doing difficult things.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed this talk so much. Thanks for having it with me, and good luck, you know, in your day-to-day activities. I'm sure it's hard balancing work and mom life, but you seem to do it well, and thanks for talking to me today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This is Pawn After Dark.